Aloha! What's going on, Ohana? Thanks for joining us again. I just got off Harmony of the Seas, and as you guys could tell, we had a pretty great time aboard. Today I'm going to share you guys everything that was good, the bad, and the ugly about Harmony of the Seas. So stay tuned, guys. It was a really good time. Can't wait to tell you about it.
Family, love. All you need is family and love. When times get tough and you don't hold up. Family. All you need is family and hugs. When times get tough so you don't give up.
So first off, I want to say I got a great deal on this sailing. I spent a little bit over $1,100, and then I only had to spend $27 to upgrade after the fact to a neighborhood balcony, and I ended up having a great view of Central Park. So not only did I spend less than $1,200 on a 7-night cruise, but it was also out of the port that was closest to me, Port Canaveral, which obviously that's a huge win. I didn't have to drive to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, which would have then had to account for gas and all that. So if you guys watched the cruise vlogs, you saw that I went with my mom on those cruises, and we had a great time. So I'm really happy to share all the best parts of Harmony of the Seas with you guys right now. So Harmony of the Seas is obviously an Oasis class cruise ship, which means there's tons to do on board. But one of the major reasons I booked this cruise was because of the itinerary. So obviously I had a pretty good itinerary. If you guys watched the vlogs, you would have saw that we went to Falmouth, Jamaica. We also went to both of Royal Caribbean's private destinations, Labadee and Coco Cay. And then we also were fortunate enough to go to Nassau, Bahamas, which, I mean, whether you like the Bahamas or not, it's an option. So I did get off the ship for a little bit and walked around, but next time probably won't even be getting off the ship. I'll just try and enjoy everything there is to do on the ship. So all in all, it was a phenomenal cruise. I would definitely recommend going on Harmony of the Seas, guys. If you've got something booked, get excited because I had an amazing time. I'm sure you guys will too. But the entertainment was amazing. The crew was so caring and so attentive to our needs. And all the restaurants, all the places around the ship were so good. I have very few complaints, but my couple of complaints I do have, I'll share them with you towards the end of this video. So stay tuned for that if you guys are curious about some of the things that didn't go so great. But of course, I want to start off by saying some of the things that did go amazing. And like I mentioned, one of those things was the entertainment. So here's a little bit about that. So the entertainment on the ship was amazing. Greece, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Sandy, not the best performer. I don't know how she got the role of Sandy, but everyone else in the crew, absolutely amazing. And the pit orchestra was great too. Everything sounded great. The set design was amazing. Honestly, it was the best show I've ever seen on any Royal Caribbean ship. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Grease fan. Like I said, Sandy was not that good, but everything else about it was absolutely amazing. So definitely make sure you guys see Grease if you're on Harmony of the Seas. And the ice skating show on the ship, we actually only saw one of the 2 shows being offered. The first one that was offered, it was a timepiece. It was about the 17 or 1800s. And the choice of theming and the way that they were kind of creating a storyline just didn't make sense. I couldn't really follow what was happening. Obviously the dancers, they're always amazing. The ice skaters, they do amazing stunts. And if you've never seen one of the shows, definitely go see it. But if you've seen some of the better shows in the fleet, I wouldn't get your hopes up for this one. It was actually so weird that we kind of skipped the second show. And so that takes us to the Aqua show. And so the Aqua show on all the Oasis class ships, I don't really know what it is, but for some reason I just find it so drawn out and very gimmicky. There's a lot of dead time and very few moments of awesome cheering where there's the high divers diving or the trapeze artists doing their thing across the high lines. And so I don't know what it is, but I always get my hopes up and I enjoy it and I get great footage, don't get me wrong. But something about it just seems a little bit rehearsed. Hashtag, I did it for the vlog. Jazz on 4 always manages to find some of the best musicians, and how they do it, I don't know, but Harmony of the Seas did not disappoint. Once again, they were amazing. If you guys enjoy jazz music, even just a little bit, make sure you go and see Jazz on 4 at least once or twice. I ended up in there pretty much every night, anytime there was downtime, anytime I just wanted to hang out and relax for a few minutes, kind of rest my feet. I always found myself going back to Jazz on 4, and I would always have my foot tapping because the music in there is amazing and the people in there, they have such skill. However, where the jazz musicians were amazing, the comedians, they were lacking. They were not mean, not overly rude, but they were definitely aggressive. And I think for Royal Caribbean, I think that they were a little bit offensive. Now, I don't know why he chose to make it a point to talk about, but even one of the comedians in his skit said how someone on the ship came up to him and said, "That's the aggressive comedian." And I mean, it makes sense that people call him aggressive because he's definitely, he's out there. And I think that for a lot of family type people that might be just trying to enjoy a comedy show after a long day, I think that he might have been a little bit of a shock to some people. Hey Nala. Wanna say hi, camera? And I hate to compare ships, but I think that the comedian would have did a little bit better off if we were another cruise line. Not gonna say names, but... Now on to some of the venues around the ship. Dazzles was absolutely amazing as always. I loved the headliners they had in there. They always were very good at what they were doing, and so there was a Michael Jackson tribute, there was a couple other tribute bands, and every single time I ended up in Dazzles, I just knew that it was gonna be a good time. So definitely check it out if you're on Harmony of the Seas. Another place on the ship that unfortunately was not as positive was my experience in the pub. So it wasn't because of the bartenders, it wasn't because of the service, it was because the entertainer, the guitarist who was in the pub on board Harmony of the Seas during my most recent sailing, he was just a basic guitarist with an iPad. And I hate to say it, Royal Caribbean, but I think we're a little bit above that. It seemed like you found him just at a typical bar. He didn't do anything special to knock me out of the water. And to me, if you're gonna be playing for 5,000 or 6,000 people, you should be one of the best and at least a master of your craft. Kind of like Daniel from Allure of the Seas or Renato from Adventure of the Seas. If you haven't seen those vlogs yet, go back, check those guys out. They are some top class musicians on Royal Caribbean ships in the pubs. And unfortunately, this guy on Harmony of the Seas just did not make the cut. As far as restaurants go on board, Oasis class ships never disappoint, and Harmony of the Seas was another amazing ultimate dining experience for us. So if you're fortunate enough to get the ultimate dining experience, I would definitely suggest you guys do it. We made complete use of it, having dinner at multiple restaurants throughout multiple nights of our sailing. We didn't actually go to the main dining room once, except for one day where I went to Hibachi and got the main dining room. So we definitely made our money's worth on the ultimate dining package. And if you guys ever have been to Chops, you know what the fillets are like there. You've probably been to 150 Central Park and you probably remember how amazing those flavors are and how your taste buds are just savoring every little bit and every little bite that you take. If you've been to Sabor, you kind of know what to expect. Sabor is not exactly the most amazing Mexican food you'll ever have, but the flavors are really good. And Wonderland, of course, Wonderland's a unique experience as well. I wouldn't exactly say the flavors were my favorite, but the experience was one of a kind, and you have to try it at least once. As far as some of the bad things around the ship go, I would say that the worst thing I experienced has to do with ship capacity, and that's because when you have an Oasis class ship and it's almost at capacity, you know that there's going to be certain lacks in areas of guest service. And they're not going to be able to take care of every one of your needs exactly when you need something. So that's the one thing I would say is if you're used to kind of being having a butler experience or being pampered by everyone, then you probably shouldn't look at an Oasis class ship unless you're going for a suite and you're going for star class, because obviously then you get the genie and they are literally going to be your butler for the week. So if you're looking for that experience where you're kind of waited on hand and foot, I wouldn't necessarily go for Oasis class, but it is what it is, and I think that all the amenities and all the friendliness of the crew on board that wants to help you out makes up for that giant amount of people on board. One other really negative experience I had on this ship, which it was pretty rare I think, but it still does happen. Obviously if you guys watch the vlogs, unfortunately someone did pass away. They were attacked by a shark. And so that's kind of a rarity in terms of things that happen on cruise ships, but it happened. And Royal Caribbean did nothing about it. They didn't make an announcement. They didn't say anything aboard. They didn't have a moment of silence. We had to hear from other people on the cruise, and I don't know, I just feel like Royal Caribbean should have done something, at least a moment of silence, because I don't know whether the family was still on board or what, but everyone knew something was off after that, and I wish Royal Caribbean did something. Everyone is also always asking about the internet. And if you've had internet on Royal Caribbean ships before, you probably remember that it's not usually the best. And Harmony of the Seas, the VOOM internet surf and stream was also not the best. However, good news guys, Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are going to be installed on all of Royal Caribbean's cruise ships throughout the rest of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. So we should have very good internet on all the cruise ships soon. That's a little bit of good news for you guys. Freedom of the Seas already has their internet, but other ships are slowly getting installed, the packages, and it'll roll out throughout the rest of 2022 and 2023, like I said. And so that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us today. It's a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly of Harmony of the Seas. I had a great time, don't get me wrong. Even though there were a few downsides, a few negatives, don't get wrapped up in them because you're gonna have a great cruise experience too. So thanks for watching, guys. Whether you're a seasoned sailor or a first-time cruiser, much love and aloha!